Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Neha Bhardwaj Alter and this is Game On. Today it's India versus Sri Lanka at the Wankhede Stadium and instantly takes you back to that sweet memory 12 years ago when India beat their neighbours to create history. The setting is different though. It's a league game and the two teams have seen contrasting fates in the tournament. India have been invincible so far and Sri Lanka are all but out of this World Cup. But as we've seen in this tournament, there have been teams bringing surprises. So can Sri Lanka be that one team today? Or will India, who've been dominant in this tournament, brush them aside to enter the semi-finals? Chetan Narula is at the Wankhede Stadium. Jamie Otto was meant to be at the Wankhede Stadium, was a bit under the weather, so decided to stay back. But welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Chetan, I've got to come to you first. What is it like? I know every time you're at a venue, that's the first question I ask you. But what is the vibe like at the Wankhede Stadium? India playing their first game there. We know what happened the last time these two teams met at the Wankhede. Tell me what's the buzz.
Well, hello, Meha. And every time you ask me this, every time I give you the one straight answer, it's going to be a sea of blue today at the Wankhede. Every time you come to the Wankhede, I've been here a few times since 2011. That night fills me with so much nostalgia. It was amazing that night. India winning the World Cup, MS Dhoni 6, which is now immortalized with those two seats where the ball landed. And yesterday we had the Sachin Tendulkar statue inaugurated here, just next to the Sachin Tendulkar stand. And, the guy who won, the maestro, he won the World Cup on that night. And I remember, Marine Drive just next to the Wankhede Stadium. It was chock-a-block full of people. Nobody knew anybody, but we were all just chanting two things, India, India, and Sachin, Sachin. And yes, I was chanting too because, we are all fans at the end of the day. I finished my work quickly that night after the press conference and headed straight to Marine Drive where the party was. And it was an unforgettable night. Not the same vibe in that sense, obviously, because India is a dominant team in this tournament. Sri Lanka, pretty much knocked out, only mathematically alive. And but everybody wants to feel that vibe. India, Sri Lanka at the Wankhede, nostalgia. So, yeah, full house today.
But that was one day when you were allowed to be a fan. It's one of those rare occasions when you can just put your journalist badge aside and say, yeah, today I'm a fan because of what has happened to this Indian team. Yeah. Jamie, you've been part of, many memories at the Wankhede Stadium. You were living in Bombay at one point of time. Tell me more about what it's like, when India is playing there, especially in a World Cup, and what are you expecting from today?
Look, I've been very fortunate to have sort of grown up in a generation, especially when it came to Mumbai cricket or Bombay cricket, where even Duleep Trophy matches and Ranji Trophy matches would still attract good crowds. So I mean, I've gone there as a little kid to watch domestic matches, both there and at the Brabourne. Then around 96, 97, during one of the winter breaks, there was a West Zone versus South Zone match. I remember going there just on an off day, 15, 16 years old. Let's go stroll there. I mean, it wasn't full, obviously, but there must have been, probably 10,000 people there. I'm talking about mid-90s. So it's always had a certain charm. Now, you talk about India cricket. I mean, look, nothing gets bigger than what Chetan just described. That night in 2011, whatever anyone will say about their own best memories, nothing is going to top India beating Sri Lanka in that final. And interestingly enough, these two teams have not played at the ground since that night where Chetan was there. So, yes, we're going to see a sea of blue. Let's hope, because I think Wankhede does do good cricket matches overall. The fact that it's a very convenient venue to get to, Mumbai cricket has a certain vibe. Mumbai fans have a certain vibe. You can count on a lot of people showing up. So yeah, personally, I've watched a lot of matches there. Didn't get to that match. Didn't do the knockouts of the 2011 World Cup. That'll always be something I missed. But you know what? Yes, lopsided contest. I don't see Sri Lanka putting up a fight against this fantastic Indian team, and let's not hope, because I think we know it's going to happen, but let's just wait and watch how long it takes India to confirm their spot in the semis today.
Okay, so let's set this game up for you. Today's match is between India and Sri Lanka, as we've been saying, in Mumbai, where another high-scoring game is on the cards if the conditions and form are anything to go by. In the last two matches played at the Wankhede Stadium so far in the tournament, the team batting first has posted scores of 399 for 7 and 382 for 5. Incidentally, both of those scores came from the team with the best top 7 in the World Cup, South Africa. So then, will Rohit Sharma opt to bat in these conditions? Should he win the toss or will he stick to chasing? 5 of India's 6 wins have come when chasing, but each time the targets set were very gettable. In the most recent match in Lucknow on a tough surface, India made 229 and won by 100 runs due to their exceptional bowling attack. Given how on and off Sri Lanka's batters have been and the depleted nature of their bowlers, there is merit in Rohit batting first to get himself and his teammates into the habit of setting targets before the knockouts. After all, a win today will confirm India's place in the semi-finals. But will Rohit do this? That's the question that we are asking today to both Jamie and Chetan as well. Given what we've seen, Chetan, it looks like I've lost connection with Chetan, but that's because he's outside the Wankhede Stadium where the jammers must be on right now. But Jamie, just looking at what happened in the game last night, and we'll come to that in detail in a bit, but games from here on, should teams, if there is no dew, which we haven't seen in the tournament in as many matches, should teams, especially who are under pressure, look to bat first?
I personally would say yes. I would like to see that. It's not a slight on teams' capability. I mean, all said and done, Tom Latham will say, look, chasing 389, we ended up 5 runs short. But I mean, when you have the bowling, let's talk about New Zealand very, very briefly, because a team which was 4-0 is suddenly now seriously struggling to make the semifinals because of, I believe, 2 wrong decisions. The wrong call in Dharamshala to put in a rejuvenated, revamped Australian team, boosted tremendously by the return of Travis Head. And then again yesterday, when you have the bowling to concede 388, when you have the bowling to concede 358, are there still doubts about what you should be doing? To my mind, no, but I think captains will keep chasing until this World Cup is won or lost, depending on which team ends up there. But again, I want to say the team that wins the World Cup, or at least wins the knockout matches, will be the team that puts better runs on the board. I've said it again, dew is not going to come until after Diwali. And let's face it, Maya, after Diwali, there are only 3 matches left, 2 semifinals and a final. I want to see all these teams which are being so brave or idiotic, in my words. I want to see if their bravado still stands in the 3 knockout matches. My gut feeling says no. Teams that have been chasing will suddenly turn around and say, we're going to bat. Because there is nothing like scoreboard pressure. And I'm still shocked. I will fight anyone tooth and nail on this argument. I told Chetan also yesterday on a message, I've seen the towel come out 3 times and we've had 32 matches. Yeah. Where is this due and why is it muddling with captains' heads?
No, absolutely. We've had these conversations so many times. It's almost like every second match we're talking about and saying, yeah, why have they chosen to field first when, they should have batted? But Chetan, today, again, Wankhede is a stadium that can confuse you. Chasing is something that people like to do here at that stadium. But what we've seen South Africa do, the kind of scores they have put up, and it's difficult for any team, even with a batting lineup that India have, it's difficult for any team to chase down those kind of totals. What do you think Rohit Sharma will look to do today?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you where's the dew. The dew is in Lucknow because that is the only ground. I've been to 9, 10 grounds, 9, 10 games. That was the only ground where there was actually dew on the ground and you could see super soppers and the ropes and sponge sheets going on the ground in between breaks and when English wickets were falling. That was the only ground I have witnessed, dew being swept up, not even at the Wankhede. And again, last night when the Indian team was practicing, you could see there was very heavy dew at the Wankhede. But what's happening is it's coming in heavy, but at the same time, on pre-match day, now this is again, I've said this before, on pre-match day, there is heavy dew. But the anti-dew spray is not put on pre-match days.
Yeah.
It's put on the day of the game. And captains throughout this tournament are taking the pre-match practice day into consideration about the dew and then making decisions at the toss. And again, I've said this before, if a captain thinks there's going to be dew and his team can get advantage from it, he's not going to negate that factor unless it's it's a big year, big game, big day, it's a semi-final.
Yeah.
That sort of a situation. It's not going to happen then. But yeah, there have been some seriously wrong calls. And I agree with Jamie. Yesterday, New Zealand perhaps should have batted first. So we just have to wait and watch what happens today. I think Rohit Sharma would elect to bat first. It's a brilliant batting track, brilliant batting ground. Bat first, put on the runs on the board. Don't think about dew. But again, we can say that on the show. The captains are not going to ignore dew. India has not ignored dew. Let's not forget. Against Bangladesh in Pune, they did not ignore dew. And I think another game where they opted to bowl first in Ahmedabad against Pakistan. There also, they did not ignore the dew factor. So again, the captains are not going to ignore it if it comes in, if it gives you an advantage. And thankfully for India, it has worked out so far.
Yeah, which is the other thing, because India likes to chase. India considers themselves as a team that can chase totals, and that has been the reason, and they've done well chasing as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Rohit Sharma looked to do. Let's find out what he has to say about today's game. He's talking first about India's bowling attack and how superb has the bowling attack been. He says you can still play. This is him talking about how they might even play 3 spinners if the need be. He says you can still play with 3 spinners and 2 seamers if need be. In this World Cup, you've seen spinners are the ones who are stopping the run flow in the middle overs. I'm keeping my options open whether we have Hardik back or not. As far as the resting of bowlers is concerned, I think they're in great rhythm now. They don't want rest. And which is the other thing now I'm going to ask you guys. It's been a sort of similar story with India so far, and now they're just 1 win away from making it to the semi-finals. Today, if they win today, they are into the semi-finals, Jamie. Let's first talk about today. Do you see any changes in their bowling? Ravichandran Ashwin, the talk's been going around. He said we could even play 3 spinners. Is that something he's just said in a press conference, as he's done in the past, or is that something that's doable? And then we'll actually, you answer this first, and then I'll talk about what India can do in the next 2 matches.
See, in my opinion, you bring in Ravichandran Ashwin when you have some doubts about, conceding more runs than you have been. So maybe Kolkata on that track, the bigger boundaries, slightly slower, maybe Ashwin. Just because it's the Wankhede, and just because, you've got such a formidable record here, it's a ground full of runs. I don't think Sri Lanka, even if Sri Lanka bat first, are they going to get to 300 against this bowling attack? I don't think so. So to my mind, Ashwin comes in either if you actually want to give someone rest for no other reason, then by all means, that's a fantastic player to call in off the bench. But somehow, to my mind, you play Ashwin when you have doubts about how many runs you're going to concede. And again, Sri Lanka, yes, like Chetan said, mathematically in with a chance. But given their batting has been so hit or miss, given the bowling is dependent on pretty much 2 bowlers, I don't think India should be worried about this. You need to keep gambling, like I keep saying, until Hardik Pandya comes back. Let's hope he comes back on Diwali and gives us some fireworks against Netherlands. I personally don't think any need is required in the bowlers. Stick to your 5, because then again, in case one bowler, again, it's very strange. We're talking about a World Cup and no bowlers had an off day. Yes, Mohammad Siraj has not been near peak form, but he's not been that bad as well. So if you play just 2 seamers, yes, it could backfire. But on this track, Ashwin is not required to my mind. Now watch Rohit Sharma go and play him.
There's every possibility he might look to do that. But Chetan, do you see any changes in the playing 11 for this match for India?
No, I don't see any changes. He was to my mind, he was just toying with the press contingent. There was a lot of interesting quotes last night. They don't really need to change the combination. Yeah. When Rohit Sharma says that, my pacers are fit enough and they are raring to go and they want to keep playing, that's all very good. And you want to see that because, it's a tournament where you want the momentum. So it's great to see that. But I think from the team management perspective, you have to remember that India only selected the 3 full-time pacers, and then they have Hardik Pandya and Shardul Thakur, and they have not brought in a Hardik Pandya replacement. They can't do that.
Yeah.
So at some point, there is also this question of what if there is an injury to one of the three pacers? What happens then? And especially if Hardik Pandya doesn't come back for the semi-finals, what happens in that scenario? So that is, for me, the only concern. And because they're playing back-to-back matches, I definitely want to play three pacers against South Africa. There's no doubt in my mind. Against the Netherlands, I definitely want to rest a couple of people before the semi-finals, especially one pacer at least I would want to rest. So from that perspective, what do you do in this game against Sri Lanka? I don't think they would want to take the Sri Lankan batting too lightly, so I don't think they will play Ashwin. It's not a spin-friendly track. But then would you play Shardul Thakur? Would you drop Siraj and say, okay, you know what, I need to play Shardul Thakur today? And the interesting thing is, there's such a big question mark over Hardik Pandya right now. Fingers crossed he comes back because India needs him. That balance, to my mind, 6 batsmen, 5 bowlers doesn't work in a knockout game against the top teams. Against a team like Australia, against a team like South Africa. From that perspective, I want Hardik Pandya back. But what if he doesn't come back? Then you need somebody like a Shardul. Then you need somebody like an Ashwin in the playing 11. So from that perspective alone, I would want Shardul Thakur to be given a run in here. That's just my view. I don't think India is going to make any changes.
Okay, now it's not just India. The world's been talking about how good a bowling attack India has. Chris Silverwood, the Sri Lankan coach, he's spoken about it on the eve of the match against India. He says, if you look at the Indian bowling attack and you watch them operate, it's a very strong bowling attack. I think any team in the world would want an attack like that, to be honest. And that leads me to the other question, Jamie. Is it the best attack in this tournament? Because I think the only one that you can compare it with is to South Africa. Between these two, do you believe that India have the best attack?
I do. I mean, look, I'm kind of glad that you mentioned South Africa because I don't think they're getting, from whatever I've read and seen, as much credit as they should have. I mean, yesterday what Keshav Maharaj did, yes, you had the runs on the board, but you could see what he brings to this team, Not the sharpest spinner of the ball, but you could see that first wicket he got. I think second or third ball, Miller took that catch. The way that, the emotional outbursts that Keshav Maharaj gave, it just says what he brings to this team. So I think they're a very, very close bowling attack to India. Why India are higher than South Africa, in my view, is because they have so much experience playing in these conditions. They know exactly what it takes to defend middling totals. And as we saw in Lucknow, of course, that track was not easy to bat on. But, they made 229 look like 529 that day. Again, I'll put that match to one side. The fact that India won 5 in a row was because of this bowling attack. There is no other team that has done what India's bowling attack. I think the bowling attack has changed in most of the matches because of Hardik Pandya's injury, and then Ashwin played one match. I don't remember if they played the same attack. I think they played the same attack only once Hardik Pandya got ruled out, if I'm not mistaken. But when you have that level of skill bowling, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami coming off the bench, getting 9 wickets in 2 matches, Mohammad Siraj, despite being nowhere as good as we know he can be, still able to take big wickets. Kuldeep Yadav on the way to maybe being India's best white ball wrist spinner, big statement of all time. And then Ravindra Jadeja. How do you compare any other bowling attack to this? Because, like I said, 5-0 is only because of these bowlers. So to my mind, not just the best bowling attack in this World Cup, but controversial statement coming up once again, the best bowling attack ever fielded in any World Cup by India. I'm not comparing, Chetan was right. It's not good to compare eras. I'm just talking about man to man, given how the game has developed in today's era. Flat tracks, small boundaries, big bats, all the cliches you want to use. To have 5 bowlers to do that, that says to me, India have never, and this is not a slight on fast bowlers, given these times to win a World Cup, this is the best attack because Ashwin's on the bench. And like Chetan said, Shardul, perhaps, I'm warming up to the idea of Shardul playing. He's been totally off color, Meha, but he's still India's 3rd highest wicket taker in ODIs in the last 3 years. That means you have very, very good depth.
Okay, let's also talk a bit about Sri Lanka and what they'll approach this game with, Chetan, because now almost out of the World Cup, they might want to at least register their, wins from here on so that they can qualify for the Champions Trophy next year. That's something that they'd want to do. But other than that, for these teams lying at the bottom of the table, which has, just a mathematical chance of qualifying for the semi-finals, are they the dangerous sides now because they have nothing to lose, or do you think they've checked out?
India is in such dominant form. I wouldn't want to say that there is any dangerous side for India, perhaps barring South Africa in the remaining games. So, India is just too dominant at the moment for a team like Sri Lanka. But having said that, it doesn't take too much to inspire a Sri Lankan side to play against India. There's the top of the show at this very same ground. Mahela Jayawardene is their batting consultant. He knows what it was that day. He scored I think, one of the most brilliant hundreds I've ever seen. And, he'll be able to inspire his troops. He'll be able to fire them up. They only need one good batting performance or one good bowling performance to, suddenly, I'm not saying beat India, but maybe put India in some sort of bother. The problem is that Sri Lanka spinners have been really off color. They're averaging 150 something. The whole bunch of spinners. I'm not just taking one name. They're averaging 150 something with wickets. That's not good, and that just shows the kind of wickets that they have encountered. They haven't really seen pitches that are really breaking up, but at the same time, where other spinners have done well, India spinners, South African spinners, Adam Zampa has done well, Mitchell Santner has done well. These players haven't really done well, and maybe it's also because some of them haven't really played too much cricket on these pitches. You have Hasranga, who's sitting out. Then you have Tikshana, who plays for Chennai Super Kings. Beyond that, you don't really have a lot of Sri Lankan players in the IPL at the moment. So from that perspective, perhaps they are missing out on something. So the strong point remains their batting, which is a really weird thing to say because it's not the best batting lineup. They have a couple of batsmen up top. They have Sadira Samar Vikrama, who's played really well in the middle order throughout this tournament. So they have a couple of batsmen up top. They have one batsman in the middle order. And they have to score a bulk of runs. And their only hope of putting India under pressure is bat first, score 320, 350. Even 320 might not be enough to put India under pressure, to be honest. They'll have to bat out of their skins, bowl out of their skins to disturb India. The one goal that every low-end team right now has is get into that top 8, qualify for the Champions Trophy, wherever it is going to be played. And Sri Lanka is 7th at the moment. So they would try not to cause too much harm to their run rate today. I think they're not going in with that goal.
Yeah.
But that's what they would want to do. Lose, but not lose too heavily as to impact that run rate.
Let's play some of those visuals. Loving those visuals coming out of Bombay. This was, I think, right outside Marine Drive. There are fans who are, which is the other thing. Jerseys are everywhere. So fans buying jerseys, flags. Jamie spoke about how Mumbai has a vibe when it comes to cricket fans. They've followed the game. They played in the Maidans of Mumbai. And which has been so much fun to see is that you've got all kind of people coming in and watching cricket. We've seen this in all the venues, but even in Mumbai, as you can see, there are people prepared to go watch this game. Even if this is going to be a one-sided game, this is the first time they're going to be seeing Rohit Sharma captaining this Indian team in a World Cup in Mumbai. So this is a big occasion for fans in Mumbai, Jamie. And how big is that moment really for Rohit Sharma, who is going to be going back? This is sort of a homecoming for him as a captain to be playing in front of his home crowd in a World Cup. He's spoken about 2011 and how he missed that World Cup. How special is this moment for him?
Well, it's going to be massive. It's kind of a downer, without being disrespectful, that this match is ended up being against a Sri Lankan team that is pretty much almost down for the count and just has not played consistently good cricket. Because I think the bigger the occasion, you might see Rohit Sharma, raise his game. I still have him down for, I'll say it again, if they bat first, there's a double century coming from one of the Indian openers today if they bat first. But again, you just talk about Mumbai cricket. This guy is Mumbai cricket. He's after Sachin Tendulkar. If there's one Mumbai cricketer who's made names for himself, it's him. And he just seems, like we've discussed all three of us before, he seems destined to really not just leave a mark on this World Cup by sheer volume of runs, might end up being player of the tournament, and should, if everything goes well during those two knockout matches, he might even have the trophy to his hands. So, just one more thing I was remembering you asked at the start of the show. There was a back in the 90s. There were a lot of these benefit matches. There was a benefit match at the Wankhede for the former India all-rounder Saeed Abid Ali. It was between the Indian 11 and the Sri Lankan 11. India were chasing. I watched that match at the Wankhede, and Azruddin, who was the captain of the Indian team, this was 97, 98. He sort of got stuck in a rut, the way that KL Rahul often gets stuck. And the target was not out of hand, but Dharmasena, Murli, all these bowlers were getting onto him. And Chetan mentioned that Lucknow crowd, being the vibe. The vibe that the Wankhede crowd did that day. I'll tell you what, it's a typical Mumbai thing. He was seeing Sangeeta Bijlani that time. It was not an official match. The crowd started to go Bijli, Bijli, Bijli. And on the big screen, they flashed a picture of Sangeeta Bijlani in the crowds. I'm not making this up. Azhar hit the next two balls off Dharmasena for 6. And the crowd went berserk. I've watched cricket like Chetan has in Chennai. Knowledgeable crowd. I've watched in Bangalore, packed crowd. But what this Mumbai crowd has a habit of doing is, become that proverbial 12th man. So let's hope that they get behind whoever gets close to 100 today, because Chetan is there, and I'm really ruining the fact that I didn't make the trip down. It's going to be an alag level ka vibe when they start chanting Rohit, Kohli, Gill, whoever it is. That is the speciality of the Wankhede and the Mumbai crowd.
Okay, talking about the Wankhede and the Mumbai crowd, then let's listen into some of the fans outside the Wankhede Stadium.
First of all, because of the experience which Mumbai can give, no other stadium can give you that. And we want to make sure that India qualifies in this match. So that's the reason that we are here. That they should score more so that we have a fun game. Yeah, 300 plus so that we enjoy. They should bat first, and the second inning they should bowl out Sri Lanka like what they did in Asia Cup. Our team is in good form, so they would be able to deliver what is expected. Most of the batsmen are in good form, so they should.
It can be a damage, must be. India has to be very careful. Can be a big score. India can make even विराट कोहली गोइंग टू मेक अ सेंचुरी probably.
बहुत अच्छा प्रदर्शन रहा पिछले 6 मैच में, और इंडिया ही वर्ल्ड कप लेगा. आगे की मैच में विराट कोहली 100 करेगा और इंडिया विन होगा.
They're gonna win this match easily because they played very well in the last 6 games, so they're gonna do a good job today. Sri Lankan is a very good team at the moment. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, Subman Gill, because he didn't play in the last game. So I hope he gonna get 100 today.
टीम इंडिया इस वर्ल्ड कप में गदर मचा रही है, और जब टीम इंडिया गदर मचा रही है तो हम टीम इंडिया के पक्के सपोर्टर हैं. तो आज हमने टीम इंडिया के लिए गदर की टीम पे गाना तैयार किया है. हिटमैन निकले वो अपनी फौज लेके, हो 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 हो. हिटमैन निकले वो अपनी फौज लेके मैदान पर, क्रिकेट के पिच पर बड़ी बड़ी टीम आई, टीम इंडिया ना किसी से रुक पाई. हिटमैन के छक्के देखे हमने, कोहली शतक पे शतक है ठोक रहे. हिटमैन के छक्के देखे हमने, कोहली शतक पे शतक है ठोक रहे. सुमन गिल के संग मिल करके राहुल अय्यर रन है जोड़ रहे. मैदान पर क्रिकेट की पिच पर सूर्या अपना तूफान मचाए, टीम इंडिया ना किसी से रुक पाए. ओ हिटमैन निकले वो अपनी फौज लेके, हो 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 हो. बुमराह का जलवा देखा हमने, समी भी रंग में दौड़ रहे. सिराज अपनी बाउंसर से बल्लेबाजों के पसीने छोड़ रहे. कुलदीप जड्डू आए फिर की घुमाए, विकेट धड़ाधड़ उड़ाए, टीम इंडिया ना किसी से रुक पाए. ओ हिटमैन निकले वो अपनी फौज लेके, हो 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 हो. भारत माता की.
Okay, a little too long, but nevertheless, you understand the sentiment. Okay. I can see Chetan saying, oh my God. No, I thought that was very creative, but a little too long. Need to have a conversation.
No. That's just so much creativity in there, so much imagination. I mean,
absolutely.
He's named the complete playing 11. That's a credit to him, right? He's named the complete playing 11. He's not left anybody out, and that's the most remarkable thing.
Brilliant. Okay, just a couple of minutes away from the toss. Let's sneak in this one then. Smashing 190-run win in Pune over New Zealand has seen South Africa form their World Cup semi-final position thanks to a fourth century from Quinton de Kock and a second from Rassie van der Dussen in this edition. The Proteas' sixth win in 7 games has put them back at number 1 on the points table, while 3 defeats in a row have put the Black Caps in a tricky position. Put into bat by Tom Latham, South Africa set themselves up for a win by posting 358, of which 114 came from de Kock's bat. In the process, becoming the first Proteas batsman to get to 500 runs in one World Cup, and 133 from player of the match Van der Dussen. The pair added 200 for the second wicket before David Miller, promoted to number 4, smashed a 30-ball 53. New Zealand quickly slumped in their chase. At one stage, 90 for 5 inside 19 overs, with only Will Young's 33 and Darryl Mitchell's 24 to show for South Africa's bowlers, then led by Keshav Maharaj with 4 wickets, kept their foot down, and eventually the Black Caps were bowled out for 167 in 35.3 overs, with Glenn Phillips getting 60 in an otherwise dismal batting effort, which brings me back to the same question. Why did New Zealand choose to field first, given that South Africa in this year have won out of the 11 ODIs that they played? They won 10 games batting first. That's the kind of record that South Africa have got. But Tom Latham, I think Tom Latham just wanted to lose this one. It's like, I think we've been winning too many. Ye wala haar dete, because there's nothing else that explains it. And I will say the same thing about Rohit Sharma as well. If he decides today, though the teams are very different, but if he decides today to field first, Chetan.
Well, yesterday's game, like I mentioned, for me, it was the game of the tournament as soon as the schedule was announced, and I knew it would have such an impact on the semi-finals permutations. But it's not turned out that way, right? It is going to have an impact, but it's not turned out to be the game of the tournament. And look, I still understand why New Zealand chose to to field first. And, they've done it well. They've chased well. They've chased well against Australia. They chased well against England. I think it's a team which has now been laid low because of injuries. Yesterday, how many injuries? They had 2 injuries. They had Matt Henry, who pulled up his hamstring, and then he didn't complete his 10 overs. Who completed his 10 overs? James Neesham. He also got injured. He also got hit on his wrist. So it's just pure bad luck. We got an update from the New Zealand camp last night. Lockie Ferguson is looking good for the next game. James Neesham is looking okay for the next game. And Matt Henry might not be available, and they've got Kyle Robinson. Kyle Jamieson in. He's flying in. But are they looking to make that change? I don't know, because they've been very reluctant to make changes for the injured players. And my heart just goes out to them. They're such a fine team. They don't even have 11 players for the next game if their injured players don't come back. So it's just a disappointing thing for New Zealand at the moment. But yeah, I'm not scared about today. I think whatever the outcome of the toss, I think India have got today covered. Just to add about last night's game, Pakistan, they'll be eating biryani and partying since last night, because yesterday's win, South Africa's win, allows Pakistan a foot into that semi-final door.
Okay, so Sri Lanka won the toss and they've chosen to field first. They made it easier for Rohit Sharma, Jamie. There you go. Whatever we've been saying. Which is, you remember Joss Butler saying we made a mistake by bowling first in the hot conditions there. You remember that quote? Sri Lanka clearly didn't hear that from Joss Butler after they lost to South Africa. Once again, here we have Sri Lanka winning the toss and opting to bowl first. Is it game, set and match for Sri Lanka, for India, Jamie?
I would like to say yes, because Sri Lanka did this in their very first game weeks ago when Dasun Shanaka was still around at the Kotla. Another outstanding batting strip to bat on. They said, hey, South Africa, we're not sure what you bring to this World Cup. Why don't you guys bat? South Africa scored 428. So even before Joss Butler's tactical error, we have the same Sri Lankan team did it to South Africa. So not their first blunder. Good luck to them. I mean, unless they've seen something in the morning drills and in yesterday's practice session which suggests that they can bowl India out for under 200, hats off to them. But this is, again, just another absolutely foolish decision. And let's not forget, in this year, I'll finish off in the next 10 seconds. In this year, Sri Lanka have been bowled out for 50 and 73 by this same Indian team.
And to think that they've decided to bowl first, and this is what Sri Lankan captain Kushal Mendis is saying. He's saying we're going to bowl first. I think the pitch will be better for batting in the second part. Which games is he seeing? Which are these matches that he's been... because clearly he's not seen the two South African games where South Africa, batted the opposition out of the game. And he's saying that, well, there is some assistance to start with, but under the lights, there'll be good assistance for our pacers. Great moment to lead the team. Yes, Chetan, you've been wanting to add to that.
No, see, I understand where he's coming from. Yes, South Africa have murdered England. And, the games at the Wankhede, if you look at them, and the games throughout the tournament, if you look at them, again, there's the dew factor. He thinks that dew in the evening will come on and it will make conditions easier to bat. Okay? And if conditions are easier to bat, which is the team? Sri Lanka benefits more than India, because I think India, irrespective of the conditions, will be a good batting team. But Sri Lanka might find it easier to bat under lights if dew comes on and if the ball is coming on really onto the bat, because that's what happens at the one.
Yeah.
Teams prefer to chase. Now, I understand, we are analyzing it and we are seeing a pattern which is not emerging. It's a foolish pattern even, people trying to chase and chase and chase. And again, Sri Lanka perhaps not going to chase whatever India scored.
Last team
India might as well score 400.
Chase. The last team with the kind of bowling attack they have. Okay, by the way, let me just cut you short, because what you are saying and what the Sri Lankan... Just one second.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cut you short, I'm sorry, is because Rohit Sharma is saying exactly the opposite thing. He's saying we would have batted first, which is fine. Obviously, some assistance to start with, but under the lights, there will be good assistance for our pacers. So clearly, while Sri Lanka thinks that this is going to get easier under the lights, Rohit Sharma is saying that, boss, our pacers are going to get more assistance. So are we looking at another Asia Cup final where Sri Lanka were bowled out for what? How much were Sri Lanka bowled out for? 70 odd, Jamie?
50, and in the month of January, they were bowled out for 73, chasing 391 in Trivandrum. So, look, I'm just going to say this.
No, I'm sorry. I cut Chetan short. So let Chetan complete his... Yeah, please go ahead, Chetan.
I agree with you, Meha. I have learned during this tournament I should not disagree with you during the toss. I completely agree with you. And I agree that Sri Lanka should bat first, but that's from an analytical point of view. I'm defending them from a dressing room point of view. In that dressing room, they are saying, what is the best option for us to challenge India? What is our best chance to create trouble for India and chase down whatever they put on board? If they perhaps are thinking that they can't really make best use of conditions, batting first, because they feel that, conditions under lights will be better and India will chase that down easily. They have to. Every team has to think, what is the best chance of beating the opposition? And if Sri Lanka feels, and that's what all I'm seeing India on the day, is to bat second. It's not going to happen. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to give you the perspective of what they might be thinking in the dressing room.
I get that. Okay, so Rohit Sharma at the toss says that he's happy that they would have batted first. It's a good pitch to bat on. Obviously, some assistance to start with, but under the lights, there'll be good assistance for our pacers. And then he's talking about leading the team in a World Cup match at his home ground. And he says, great honor, great moment to lead the team. It's important for us to not get carried away by the performances that we put in. And then it's the same team as the last game. So there are no changes. Let's put that up for everybody who's joining us right now, that Sri Lanka have won the toss at the Wankhede Stadium. They've chosen to field first. Kushal Mendis, the captain, saying that the pitch is going to be better for the team batting second. So he's happy to bowl first. And Dushan Himanta, he has come in. That is for Sri Lanka, just one change, whereas Rohit Sharma at the toss said that he would have liked to bat first. And also, as we've been discussing on the show, this is a big moment for Rohit Sharma, the captain of this Indian side, playing at home in a World Cup match at the Wankhede Stadium, where it's obviously this is huge for him and for Mumbai cricket fans. So he says it's a big moment for me, great honor for me to lead the team here, and then there are no changes to this Indian side, which is what both Chetan and Jamie were suggesting as well, that at this point, given how well this team is doing, given the conditions at the Wankhede, that there are likely to be no changes. So just coming back to this now, I had asked Jamie about this, about how big a moment this is for Rohit Sharma. I'm going to go to you as well, Chetan, to think that, yes, he's going to be playing at the Wankhede, but the kind of form that he's in. And now India are batting first.
Last evening he was, I wouldn't say sentimental, because that's not what Rohit Sharma is. I think he's very chilled out, very carefree. But that 2011 World Cup snub hit him really hard, and he's made that plain. For him, it's a dream come true to not only playing a World Cup game on his home ground, but also the fact that he's leading the side. He's led India 100 odd matches. Now he leads them out in a World Cup the Indian team could win. And as an athlete, you live for moments like these. If I can just say that. You live for these moments. Even listening to what Sachin Tendulkar said about his statue inauguration, he was talking about all the moments, where Wankhede played such a magnificent role in his career, whether as a 10-year-old kid or, playing his first game here. So all of that. Now, just from that perspective, you just have to borrow from it. Rohit Sharma, he's the Mumbai Indians captain. I saw a few celebrities coming in, so it's a big occasion. The Indian team playing their game at the Wankhede. He's Mumbai Indians captain. He's the India captain. This is home ground. So it's a huge moment for any athlete to have moments like these unforgettable moments. And I wouldn't say that he's going to score a double 100, because I know predictions are often wrong. But I do think that he will, bat well today. I think, he will put up a big score. I don't want to jinx anybody with predictions, etc. But I'm looking forward to watching Rohit Sharma bat on that track, on his home ground, in a World Cup, in that kind of form, as you said. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now, Chetan was talking about this because there was a grand statue of India's legendary cricketer Sachin Tendulkar that has been unveiled at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai ahead of India's upcoming World Cup clash versus Sri Lanka. The statue has been built adjacent to the Sachin Tendulkar stand inside the stadium and portrays the master blaster hitting a lofted drive.
A celebration today.
Absolutely. Going ahead, the man himself, आजचे उत्सव मूर्ती आणि ह्या स्टॅच्यूचं आज अनावरण होणार आहे असे श्री भारतरत्न सचिन तेंडुलकर आहे तिकडे. मी विनंती करीन माननीय श्री एकनाथजी शिंदे आणि त्यानंतर अमोल काळे यांना दोघांनी एकत्र करून ते जेव्हा बटन दाबलं जाईल. So may I request.
There you go for the unveiling of this ceremony. Sachin Tendulkar was accompanied by his wife Anjali Tendulkar, daughter Sarah Tendulkar, and this is Sachin Tendulkar immortalized at the Wankhede Stadium. And looks like a lofted drive. And yes, Wankhede, we've seen some iconic moments from Sachin's career. The last being when he played his 200th in the final game in 2013. Indian players took a victory lap around the stadium carrying Sachin Tendulkar on their shoulders. Tendulkar remains the highest run scorer in international cricket with 34,357 runs and 100 centuries in his career spanning nearly 25 years from 1989 to 2013. What a moment and much needed. Chetan, you were there. Give us some of the, things that stood out for you in that ceremony.
The main nugget that stood out for me was that he was 10 or 11, and 10 guys from his colony, they decided to go and watch a match, and they had 10 tickets and 11 kids got in, and he was like, meri choti height ka fayda ho gaya, they just let me in. And then he laughed, and I understand that because some time ago I was working on a project with Ajit Tendulkar, the elder brother of Sachin Tendulkar, and he used to tell me, I had visited their home, Sahitya Sehwag's temple for Indian cricket fans, really. And he told me how this young kid, how his younger brother, this young kid, short stature and, guys taller than him and all, they used to be friends. And that's the weirdest part about his cricket, really. So that evoked memories of that. But most importantly, when that statue was revealed, I was so happy with that shot, because Sachin Tendulkar, he's a complete master, complete batsman. There was no shot he couldn't play. But I was so happy with that particular stroke where he's lifting the ball straight down the ground, maybe over long on. And I want to tell you why. He played a similar shot of Andy Caddick in the 2002 tour, 2002 tour or one tour. That tour to England where they had the 5 tests and at Headingley they scored those runs. He hit a similar 6 at Leeds against Andy Caddick. And I asked Ajit Tendulkar about that shot, and he said that's the shot he played as a youngster, playing in Sahitya Sehwas, which taught Ajit Tendulkar that his brother is special, that this guy is born to play cricket. And I was so happy to see that shot that's been immortalized with that statue. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up on that lovely note. Quickly, you guys give me predictions. Just give me the scores for India and then we'll wrap it up. 6 o'clock is when we're back. Chetan?
360 to 80, something like that.
Okay, Jamie?
400.
Wow. Okay, wrapping this up on that note. 6 o'clock is when we're back. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Hamas attacks Israel. Israel Defense Forces strike back at Hamas. As the war unfolds, watch the comprehensive coverage of the Israel war only on News 9+. To watch the full story, download the app now.
Delhi has the fastest growing metro network among G20 nations. From 6 stations in 2002, it today has 286 stations. Reliability, cleanliness and affordability have set the template for other Indian metros. The architect of this modern-day world-class